Hello my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara, and today we're going to be going over Uranus in the 8th house synastry. So this video is for you if you are experiencing this synastry with another individual. Maybe your Uranus is in their 8th house, maybe their Uranus is in your 8th house, or maybe you're a cross watcher, and if so, welcome as well. So basically, Uranus in our natal charts, first of all, it is a generational planet. So in synastry, you might not necessarily feel it as much, or you might not feel it right away, or maybe it'll be at the end of the dynamic where you guys will be like, oh my gosh, that was intense. So it could be one of these situations, but overall Uranus deals with sudden unexpected change. It is that planet of science or even innovation or technology or ideas. This energy, when it enters your life, it could feel quote unquote electrifying. It could also feel very much like you are going through some sort of abrupt change. There could be a lot of excitement here. There could also be a lot of instability as well with Uranus, because Uranus is the energy that switches up. But also Uranus is the energy of the intellect. It's also the energy of friendship and groups of friends, and also helping the collective propel forward with the ideas and the innovations. It could be tech, it could be science, sometimes the fashion industry. I find them to be very much Uranus inspired as well with their innovative types of ideas. So anything in any of these realms is basically the Uranus domain. Now, the 8th house deals with sex, death, rebirth, joint finances, taxes, and the occult. Basically, it is the merging of energies. It's going to deal with those intimate parts of ourselves, maybe the hidden aspects of ourselves, maybe the areas where we might not necessarily be comfortable exposing or expressing. The 8th house can also deal with money, usually other people's money, and power and control, and sometimes even domination, if it really goes into the shadow of the 8th house energy. Now, the thing is, with these 8th house synastry types of situations, it always depends how evolved are the two people, what is going on in their own natal charts. Are they 8th house types of people themselves? Maybe they're Plutonian, maybe they have Scorpio energy in their natal chart that they are used to already, so they could be unconsciously or even consciously seeking these 8th house synastry types of situations and dynamics. If not, and you guys are not used to these energies, and maybe you guys have a little bit more of lighthearted energies taking place in your natal chart, well, these energies can always come to you as a shock. There might be this magnetic attraction between the two people. You guys might not necessarily understand what is going on here, especially with the Uranus going into the 8th house. This could feel like a very exciting, exhilarating type of dynamic. Now, before I started this video, I always got to tell you guys what comes through in these videos. I was picking up on Bonnie and Clyde. Now, I don't know their whole story. That's just kind of what I was picking up on energetically. Just the whole concept of two people who are kind of feeding into each other and kind of feeling like they are unstoppable or even invincible. Now, that might not be their exact story, Bonnie and Clyde, but this is the energy that I was picking up on, kind of like feeding into each other's ideas. And maybe it's the energy of like, let's go on this adventure here, or let's do this, or it can really go into the extreme, because that 8th house can literally deal with the shadows of society. Let's say some sort of shadow types of behavior, like all of the lower versions of society. I'm trying to kind of speak between the lines here in this video, but all the lower versions of society that deal with getting money fast and quick and manipulation and all these types of things in the shadow sense is going to be the 8th house. So these two individuals could feed off of each other in this dynamic. There could be this excitement energy connected to maybe doing something that is not necessarily allowed, quote unquote, by society. I'm kind of speaking between the lines here. You guys are going to have to use your imagination for that. So these two energies can really feed off of each other. It could go into those shadows. It could really be like, oh my gosh, this feels so exciting. And you know, one person feeds into the other. You guys get some sort of wild idea. Let's say it's the Uranus person kind of brings it up. The 8th house person is like, yeah, let's do it. So it kind of depends what is going on between the two individuals individually, and then what else is going on in the synastry within the natal charts here. But that Uranus energy is always going to be the rebel. So these two, when they come together, they really could set up something or some sort of situation to rebel against society, or rebel against certain norms, or rebel against certain people in certain places in this world. Again, speaking a little bit between the lines, I'm not trying to give anybody any ideas out there. Obviously, you guys have the free will to do what you want, but it could manifest into something of the sort with this erratic energy, this excitement energy. And again, it could really feed into those shadows, or maybe the 8th house person's like secret fantasies that they have, or like shadow types of ideas. The Uranus person could bring, let's say, life to that, or excitement to that. Or maybe the 8th house person kind of felt a little bit dormant energetically. The Uranus person comes through and they feel alive, and they are kind of getting an adrenaline rush from engaging in these types of activities. So absolutely, it could manifest in this way between these two individuals. Now, let's say it's a little bit of a lighter version or a lighter scenario, or something a little bit more positive, and not so anti everything in the world. Let's say it's that type of dynamic. Well, in that case, maybe you guys come up with new innovations together or new ideas, and maybe you guys create something and you monetize that. Maybe you guys create a business together, for example, or maybe it's an invention, for example. Then you guys get money from that, because that A house can deal with money, absolutely. Now, when it comes to sexuality, because that A house is always going to bring up that energy, whether it is a little bit more behind the scenes because it is a generational planet. Again, depends what else is going on with the rest of the energies in the individual's natal charts and in the synastry amongst the two of you guys. But still, at the end of the day, the A house is the A house, so it does deal with the sexual energy. So between these two people, maybe there's going to be a lot of excitement in this area, if you guys catch my drift. Maybe you guys do unique things or new things, or things that rebel against the norm, things that are maybe not necessarily so mainstream in society. You guys might explore that with each other. Maybe it's a side of yourselves that you guys haven't necessarily experienced, for example, or knew was there, and now this person comes through and brings it to the surface, because that A house energy, especially in the synastry, can really make the other person feel comfortable. And on top of that, Uranus is completely non-judgmental as an energy. They are really open to all kinds of people, all kinds of situations, all kinds of circumstances. So these two energies coming together, which is like Uranus kind of being accepting of everything, and that A house, which is the hidden part of the self, or maybe like the secret part of the self that's never been expressed, or the suppressed part of the self. Let's say you guys are not A house people, Plutonian, Scorpio people, where you're used to this energy already. Well, in this dynamic, there could be this sort of energy created between the two people where you feel comfortable to speak about these things, explore these things, go into these worlds that maybe you didn't even know were there. Absolutely could manifest this way as well. Now, the A house does deal with vulnerability. So because it does deal with vulnerability, maybe again, there's this level of comfort between these two people to express themselves in this way, or show these parts of themselves that maybe they haven't shown to anybody before. These parts that could be suppressed or hidden, or they don't feel comfortable showing to other people, because Uranus is that energy, kind of creates this comfort for the people around. Now, what I will say is Uranus at the end of the day. It's more intellectual as an energy. It's not necessarily a feeling type of energy. So there might be a little bit of discomfort here in terms of Uranus going into the vulnerable aspects of themselves. For example, in this dynamic where the A house person could be requiring more, let's say, out of the Uranus person, or could be looking for that Uranus person to explore their shadow self or the depths of the self. But the thing is, maybe this dynamic will be one of those quick dynamics and spontaneous dynamics or unexpected dynamics where the two people don't necessarily get to that point where it is, let's say, required, or the A house person is, let's say, wanting more from the Uranus person to go into the depths of the self, for example. Maybe it won't get to that point. Maybe it'll just be quick, fun, spontaneous, because that's that Uranus energy, because it does create some form of instability. And at the end of the day, instability might not necessarily last long term, but in the short term, it's going to be very exciting for the two people, because it's new, it's always changing, it's always something unexpected, it's this new idea. So absolutely can manifest in this way with this dynamic between the two individuals, with the Uranus going into the A house in synastry. Now, at the end of the day, with the A house dynamics, there is always some sort of change and transformation that does take place in these situations. There is still going to be a destruction of the ego in one way, shape, or form to go through change and transformation and come out different on the other side. Now, when I say destruction of the ego, it doesn't have to be so intense and, let's say, cathartic to that point. It could just be you thought things were one way, and now you've encountered this person that has shown you a different way of living. It leaves you changed and it leaves you transformed. It could manifest in this way as follows. So the thing is, with the A house and then the Uranus, maybe one person triggers it in the other person, but if you spend more time with the individual, the energy could get blurred. So both people could be experiencing this. A lot of the time in synastry, they might say, let's say the A house person feels it more. In this case, because it is the vulnerable parts of the self, the Uranus person also is generational. A lot of the time with the generational planets, that person might not, let's say, feel it as much, but it doesn't mean that this person isn't going to leave transformed from the situation. At the end of the day, everything is an energy exchange. So whatever happens in the situation and the time you guys spend together, the two people might still end up transformed in their own ways in the situation. For example, something that could take place is the A house person may need a little bit more excitement in their life when the Uranus person comes through, the ability to express all these things that I've mentioned to you guys, the shadows of the self, feeling comfortable to express these aspects of themselves, absolutely could manifest in this way. And then they feel maybe more comfortable after this experience to embrace their true self and their authentic self, maybe because of the experience they had with Uranus. Maybe Uranus in this dynamic, well, maybe they do end up diving a little bit deeper into the depths of themselves and maybe their own shadow self, and maybe they also end up feeling a little bit more accepted in this dynamic, because it could be very much a non-judgmental dynamic that's taking place with the Uranus and the A house. The Uranus as an energy already being non-judgmental on their own, but then we have the A house, which is like the shadows of the self. So it's like the Uranus person might feel comfortable, let's say, to express certain ideas or things that they have buried, let's say, deep within them that, you know, they haven't maybe been able to express before, and it could help them change and transform in this way as well, where maybe they have learned something new about themselves in this dynamic. So that's basically this type of dynamic with the Uranus going into the 8th house. It seems very fun energetically, very different, very unique, very outside of the box. Now the thing is, the 8th house could sometimes bring the shadows to the surface, so maybe it'll be erratic in a shadow sense. For example, if we look at it, let's say, in terms of this earth plane being a plane of duality, so maybe it could go, let's say, into the shadow of the energy, but compared to the rest of the Synastry energies, just as I'm tapping into it, it doesn't feel as energetically intense compared to some of the other maybe personal placements where you might feel it more, especially when it goes into the shadow. It doesn't really feel that. There is a little bit of space here. More than anything, it just feels like the acceptance energy here between the two people, and excitement and novelty and change and the ability to express the self and get in tune with those authentic parts of the self. But just like anything, maybe if we were to look at the shadow of this energy, it could be this going into shadow parts of society and doing certain shadow types of behaviors in those parts of society, like really rebelling. Let's say one or both of the people could be feeding into this energy for the other person. So it could manifest in that way if we look at it from the shadow perspective. But that is the overall idea here for Uranus going into the 8th house in Synastry. I'm going to wrap up this video here. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.